Hello. So in this video, I wanted to talk a little bit about rescue dogs. And one of the things that concerns me with them is why so many of them end up going back into rescue after they've been taken on. And I think perhaps one of the key reasons for this is often when I speak to an owner and they say to me, oh, he's a rescue dog. And I say, oh, how long have you had him? They say, oh, I've had him 3 years now, or 5 years now, or 7 years from now. And I say, okay, well then, why are you still calling him a rescue dog? Because surely by now, he's kind of just your dog. But I think we keep them in this position of, I still think of him as a rescue dog. And that makes me, as the owner, make some choices that I probably shouldn't make because I'm not ready to move on. But if I still keep him trapped in this mentality of, yes, but you're a rescue dog, I'm probably going to make some mistakes with him that may ultimately lead to him ending up back in rescue. So the first thing I always say is, as soon as that rescue dog that you've bought comes through your front door, stop thinking of him as a rescue dog and start thinking of him as your dog, which is what he is. So don't keep him trapped in that status of rescue dog, because it means you're probably going to teach him differently to the way you would have taught him if you got him as an 8-week-old puppy. And remember, when you get your 8-week-old puppy, he too has come from a previous environment, but you don't see him as a rescue dog. You just see him as your dog. And so when he comes through the front door, you start laying down all the rules of how your house works. This is where you're going to sleep. This is what you're going to eat. This is what privileges you're allowed and not allowed. And we should do the same thing with that rescue dog. One of the things he most needs is some structure, how this house works. And as soon as you start going, well, I wasn't going to let him on the sofa, but he's a rescue dog. Well, I wasn't going to let him sleep in the bedroom, but he's a rescue dog. Well, I've fed him whatever he wants to eat because he's a rescue dog. And you start creating all these suppositions about him. Well, he was probably abused, so I'm going to have to do this because he was probably abused. He was probably not fed properly, so I'm going to let him eat all this different stuff. You're kind of setting him up for problems later on that you may come to resent. Well, now you're resentful because he takes over the sofa. And now you wish you'd never let him on it in the first place. And he keeps waking you up during the night because you had him in the bedroom, which you didn't really want to have him in the first place. And had he been your 8-week-old puppy, you'd have started off with him in the kitchen. So try, first of all, as soon as you bring that new dog into your house, to say, okay, this is how my house works. And give him a structure that he can learn to fit in with, rather than you trying to build a structure around him, which is probably not going to work well. One of the reasons why it doesn't work well is because dogs don't have this sense of appreciation that he's just going to go, wow, your house is so much lovelier than the kennels, and I've got this lovely bed, and I had a rough bed in the kennels. I have all this attention that I didn't get in the kennels. I get walked 3 times a day. I didn't get that in the kennels. I'm so lucky, and I'm so grateful. I'm going to be this wonderful dog and make sure I work harder to keep you happy. What's probably going to happen is he's going to think, wow, I can get away with murder in this house. I can do whatever I like. And so what he does is he does whatever he likes. And you end up feeling betrayed by him because he's supposed to be grateful because of all this wonderful stuff you gave him, and you put him back in the rescue. That lovely bed you bought him has been chewed, peed and pooed on. The letting him sleep in your bed after that, he just takes over the bed and then growls because you get into it. It's just because he sees you as something he can exploit. So again, right from day one, make sure that he understands how your house works and make as sure as possible that he fits in within those rules rather than you trying to bend all of the rules to convenience him, because he's never going to thank you for it. He won't be any better behaved because you're spoiling him. So that's rule number 1. Second rule is try not to make any assumptions about the life that you think he may have lived in the past and then compensate for it. Well, he was probably abused, so I'm going to make sure he has the lap of luxury. Well, he probably wasn't fed well, so I'm going to feed him the most wonderful foods. Because none of these things are really important. None of these things are really going to help your relationship with the dog. So try not to make those assumptions. Now, obviously, if, for example, he has been beaten by a man in his previous home, and so he's nervous of men, obviously you're going to do training exercises to try and help him get past that. But that's what your goal is, not to sympathize and feel sorry and overcompensate. It's like, okay, you've got this problem. How can I fix it? If the rescue aren't sure how to fix it, then what you'll do is you'll go and get a behavioral trainer or someone out to come and see you. Sometimes I get owners who say they feel betrayed by the rescue. The rescue lied to them because they told us he was fine with cats. And it turns out he's not fine with our cat. And so we're going to take him back to the rescue because they lied to us. Well, remember, in the rescue, they can only really assess what he's like in a rescue. And even if they put him in a foster home before he comes to you, your home will be different to the foster home. The foster home may have different structures, they may have different rules. They may have a cat who, as soon as he tried it on with it, swiped him across the muzzle, whereas your cat runs away. So the foster says, yeah, he's good with cats because he understood how to behave with their cat. If he behaves differently with your cat, it's not necessarily because they lied to you, it's just that it was a different cat. So if you've got problems with him, don't just assume that the rescue didn't assess him properly or that they lied to you. What probably happened was they could only assess him within the confines of the rescue or the foster home. And if the requirements are different in your house, you need to adapt to that before you just decide that he's the wrong dog. Give them a chance to help you to help him. If you put him back in rescue, he just goes in there perhaps more confused than he was before. So maybe the problem is that actually you're not really teaching very well how to live in your environment, rather than just blaming him because he's not the same as he was in the foster home or in the rescue. All dogs, doesn't matter whether they're 8 weeks or 8 years, are all going to need time to learn how to fit in your environment and what your structure is. So the clearer you can make that, the greater the likelihood the dog is going to do what you wanted him to do in the first place and hopefully end up with the dog that you wanted. So just make sure that you allow that opportunity for him to learn how your house works and then make sure that he fits in with that. Best of luck.